Well, ADH TV contributor and Family First Senate candidate for Victoria, Bernie Finn, joins me now to unpick the key political issues of the week. Bernie, welcome to ADH TV again.
Good to be here, Lyle, and I hope you had a great Easter.
Thank you, same to you. Well, post-Easter, Bernie, things are busy politically. Sam Mostyn has been appointed Governor-General by the King on the recommendation of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. She thinks Australia Day is Invasion Day. She supports a republic but is happy to take a $500,000 a year job representing King Charles in Australia. What's going on?
I thought when you referred to the King, you might have been actually talking about Albanese himself, because he obviously has ideas way above his station. We knew, Lyle, we knew this was going to be a bad appointment. We didn't realise how bad, though. This new Governor-General that we're going to have, she was a former AFL commissioner, and that says it all. If you are woke enough to sit on the AFL commission, I've got no time for you, I have to say. And, you know, there's photos of her floating around today and yesterday wearing her Yes T-shirt. You know, well known, she supports the ditching of the monarchy. So she actually represents somebody who she wants to get rid of. So, you know, if you can work that one out, please explain it to me. It's bizarre, but unfortunately it is all too expected because this is what Labor have done here in Victoria with Andrews. They've put people in who are staunch Republicans to represent the Queen and now the King. And Albanese is clearly thinking this is all great sport. Well, I don't think it's great sport, because I think the future of the country is far too important to be putting his hard left mates into cushy jobs, because I understand it pays about $500,000 a year, which is more than I'm ever going to see, I can tell you that now. But for them to be treating it in this way, I think is disgraceful. I think it's despicable, and I just can't support this appointment at all. And I heard Peter Dutton yesterday trying to find some kind words to say about her, and he was trying so hard, and it was a good effort, but he didn't quite get there. But I can fully understand how he felt.
Yeah, look, I think we all want the Governor-General to be someone who's above politics. We all want to wish the person in that role well. It's a very important ceremonial role, and there is a place for ceremony. It is a position that comes with reserve powers, as we've seen, to break deadlocks. But I just can't see how, with any integrity, people like Albanese who do not agree with our constitutional system of government can appoint someone who doesn't even believe Australia is a legitimate country, let alone the Constitution and the Crown is legitimate, and yet they're prepared to take this sort of money. It seems like they're deliberately trying to put people into those roles as part of their plan to destroy Australia. I mean, that sounds a bit hyperbolic, but to white ant our very institutions and who we are as a nation itself.
Yep. Well, what they're doing, Lyle, is they are trying to bring our system of government into disrepute. And that's what they're doing. And we have seen that now on a number of occasions. Labor have, over a long period of time, appointed mates to this role. They see it as a jobs for the boy position, this time a jobs for the girls position. Not so much the Libs, but I'm sure if we go back far enough, we'll find one somewhere. But I think that what Albanese is trying to do, what his mates are trying to do, is just to bring the entire system into disrepute. That way they can trash it and then say it doesn't work, we'll get rid of it. You know, as I say, I'm disgusted by the appointment. I think it is appalling, and I think the Prime Minister should be ashamed of himself, if indeed he is capable of shame at all.
Yeah, people have really got to think about who they vote for. As Paul Keating once famously said, you change the government, you change the country. And there's no doubt that the Albanese government is on a quest to change the country by appointing these sort of people who don't agree with the country and don't agree with the institutions which make us a free country. Bernie, you mentioned Sam Mostyn's support of the Yes campaign, that divisive bid to change the Constitution to pit Australian against Australian. This week, the Australian Electoral Commission has released the figures for the donations to that voice referendum that was held last year. And lo and behold, it's revealed that the Yes campaign spent around about $50 million, twice as much as the No campaign.
Well, it might be an interesting point here, Lyle. Perhaps if they are keen to change Australia Day, October the 14th might be an appropriate day. Because that's the day Australians stood up and say we're not putting up with this woke nonsense anymore. I will always have a great deal of affection in my heart for that day because Australians really stood up and made their views known. But to get back to the question that you've asked, I mean, if I was a shareholder in some of those corporations and big businesses that have kicked in millions and millions of dollars, I wouldn't be very happy because not only did I not get value for money, I didn't even get the right result as far as they're concerned. I mean, these people have made decisions based on what? I don't know. They have kicked in millions and millions of dollars of money that is not theirs. That sounds familiar, does it? Albanese had it again. But as I say, if I was a shareholder, and I don't hold shares. I've avoided it like the plague, just to be on the safe side. But if I was a shareholder in any of those companies, I would be livid. I would be furious that they are playing with my money for political purposes. You know, it is not the role of a CEO or a board chairman or anybody else to be using shareholders' money to play politics. That's not their job. And my own view is that anybody who was responsible for that last year should resign. You know, their integrity is in tatters, and they should resign. Any CEO, any board chairman, any board at all, they should all go because they have shamed themselves and they have just absolutely shredded their own integrity.
Yeah, they absolutely have, Bernie. And I guess the only upside of the Voice debate last year was that it just shows David can beat Goliath sometimes and that common sense can shine through despite being outspent 2-1. Bernie,
Yep.
Anthony Albanese and our so-called energy minister, and I use that term so-called because Chris Bowen is doing more to destroy our electricity generation capability than anyone else. But because of this so-called climate emergency, global boiling that we're told about, but that didn't stop Albanese and Bowen from taking 2 separate private VIP jets to the Hunter Valley to make a $1 billion announcement of how they're going to spend your and my money to build solar panels.
It is just astonishing, and it's not very often, Lyle, it has to be said, not very often that I'm stuck for words. But when I saw that the other day, I came very close to it. There may have been a degree of profanity involved, but nonetheless, I was less than impressed once again. I mean, these 2 clowns should be ashamed of themselves. They are destroying Australia's future. Bowen is taking great delight in destroying Australia's future. If you want to know what Bowen's like, have a look at his track record. You know, he has been a failure in everything he has ever done, anywhere. He's been a failure, and he's doing it again. Except this time, he's going to take Australia with him, and to then jump on a couple of private jets, or they might have been government jets, but to take two jets down to the Hunter to announce a major spend up on these renewables and solar panels and all these sort of nonsensical things that are just going to bury us anyway. I think most Australians would say this does not pass the pub test, and I think if they lose the next election, they can look back on this as one thing that has contributed to that defeat monumentally, and it is all their own work.
That's
all
right.
their own work. But these 2 are just a disgrace.
Well, how can they lecture us about the need to reduce our carbon footprint when they're prepared to fly around on government jets? There's no thought of economising, let alone the waste of taxpayers' money. But also, Bernie, $1 billion of taxpayer money to try and kickstart a solar panel construction industry in the Hunter Valley. I mean, it's a coal mining area. We've got some of the biggest coal reserves in the world where we could produce cheap and reliable electricity, and instead of this expensive and unreliable electricity that we've got, somehow Albanese thinks $1 billion of your and my money will allow Australia to take on China in the solar panel manufacturing industry. I mean, this is delusional stuff. We can't afford this when we're already in $1 trillion worth of debt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's absolute insanity, and it just goes to show that Albanese is not fit to be Prime Minister of this country. He thinks because the Chinese president called him a handsome boy that this was fair dinkum, that he's some sort of godlike creature now. I find the whole thing astonishing. It worries me that we still have these people in government for another 12 months because they can do a lot of damage in that time. And I'm just waiting for them to start blowing up the power stations and all that sort of Taliban type stuff that we've seen around the place, in particularly in Victoria and New South Wales of recent years. That is inevitable, I think, and that is just a statement from them that their destruction, that their vandalism of this country is a permanent feature of our future.
Yeah, look, it's a real worry. One thing that I did very much agree with Peter Dutton speaking this week, he pointed out that this government is planning to take offline 90% of our coal-fired power generation within the next 10 years. Now, we don't have the technology to make up that baseload power, and certainly $1 billion of taxpayer money thrown at building solar panels in the Hunter Valley is not going to produce the baseload power to replace that 90% of coal generation gone within a decade.
Lyle, it is insanity of the highest order. These people should have their heads read, as my dear mother would have said. They are irresponsible in the that is the nicest thing. The nicest thing I can say about Albanese and Bowen is that they are irresponsible. It may well be that they are leading us down the path of destruction very deliberately, in which case I could call them something else. But at best, in a true Christian tradition, I will say that they are irresponsible because what they are doing is they are trashing Australia's future. They are trashing my kids' future. I haven't got any grandkids yet, but they're trashing their future. This is a great country. This nation was built by people who really cared about it. And now it's being destroyed by people who don't.
Absolutely. And look, like you, I'm sure, like me, I'm sure you're very worried about the upcoming budget next month. They're forecasting further, cost of living relief. Now they're the ones who've caused the cost of living crisis and the coalition government before that, but they've accelerated it. But they're flagging further energy relief from our high electricity bills. Now, they've created and exacerbated these high electricity bills, but throwing more taxpayer money that's borrowed money to give us cost of living relief, this is a fool's paradise that we're living in. It defies basic economics. Yeah.
It does. As I have said time and time again, we have enough coal, we have enough gas to lower the price of energy. We have enough gas, enough power, enough coal to give us the reliable energy source that we all want. For them to go off on some fairy tale with renewables, unreliables, as I call them, is only going to make things worse. So they can throw money at people, and there will be some people who will be sucked in by that. They'll say, "Oh, Albo gave me $10. Aren't I lucky?" Without looking at the reality of what's going on, because what is happening at the moment is that it is only going to get worse, and the further we go down this path, the higher energy costs will be, and when energy costs go up, everything goes up. It's as simple as that, because everybody uses energy. Every manufacturer uses energy. Every company, every factory, they all use energy. So when energy prices go up, everything goes up. So these people just are appalling. Appalling in the way that they treat Australian families.
Yeah, and just throwing more taxpayer money at reducing energy prices, that's like pouring petrol on a dumpster fire. That's why we need you in the Senate, Bernie, to try and bring some economic reality and common sense. Bernie, an issue that is very close to your and my heart is the issue of human rights for unborn babies. Now, the Queensland Premier, Stephen Miles, who I think is someone who has no grip on reality whatsoever, he's posted on Facebook, and you reposted this, that he's celebrating the idea that abortion is legal now in every state of Australia. He says abortion is now legal in every state. Let's keep it that way. Why is he celebrating, the killing of unborn babies and the harming of women?
Well, I look to give him the best the best judgment, I suppose, would be to say he's totally out of touch with reality. And he surrounds himself with people who think this way. And he believes it. But the fact of the matter is that he can say this because the leader of the opposition is not a whole lot better. He's made it clear that he won't be changing the abortion law.
That's right.
In Queensland either. So we have both the Liberal and the Labor parties out to kill babies in Queensland. So we need an alternative party for good people of conscience to vote for. And I thank the Lord for Family First, because that allows us to actually vote our conscience. It actually allows us to vote for what is right instead of what is just perhaps the lesser of the two evils. That's a big difference. And I'm just so pleased that Family First is around. Particularly after my experience, I'm very pleased that Family First is around to provide that alternative to, I reckon, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people, across this nation.
Absolutely.
I have had no time for Stephen Miles for a very long time. I think he is largely brain dead. But for him to go with this in an election year, just proves my point.
Shows where his priorities are, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's something desperately wrong with him.
Yeah.
Something desperately wrong with him. For a political leader to come out and say this in an election year, just a couple of months or a few months before an election, I think is the height of political stupidity, because there are still a lot of people, particularly in Queensland, interestingly enough, but a lot of people across Australia who believe that babies should be protected, that abortion does kill babies. Well, you don't have to believe it, that's a fact. And they would be appalled, they would be disgusted by what Stephen Miles has said. And, Christopher Foley, the Liberal, the LNP leader, must be beside himself with joy. He hasn't had to say anything or do anything. And his opponent, the Queensland Premier, has put a very large section of the Queensland community offside. Just incompetence of the first order. But you would expect that from him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you rightly point out, Christopher Foley has also said that he will not be changing those abortion to birth laws in Queensland if he's elected Premier. So it's a bipartisan commitment there. And this is why Family First is currently calling for candidates. And I'm pleased to say we've got about 20 people that have already expressed interest in becoming candidates at that October election in Queensland. We're certainly looking for more. If you're watching out there today and would like to stand as a candidate, stand for life and freedom and a sensible economic energy policy, give us a yell at Family First. Just finally, Bernie,
I'll be up in Queensland in October for the CPAC conference, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and giving you a hand on the streets of Brisbane or anywhere else you want me to get the message across that Family First must be in people's consideration.
Absolutely. We want to have that ethical option on the ballot paper and start to build a counter movement to push back on what we're getting from mainstream politics. Bernie, just finally still on pro-life issues, you and I have been in the euthanasia debate for many, many years, but there's reports now from the New York Post about a Dutch woman reportedly euthanized because she was suffering from depression. Now, we've been told for years and years this is only for people who are in intractable physical pain, who are definitely going to die. There is no slippery slope, is what I've been told in many debates I've been involved in. I know you've been told the same.
Yes,
these people are just
absolutely
putting grease on the slope, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they are, and this is phase 2. The same thing is happening in Canada, where kids with autism are being proposed to be victims of euthanasia. This is just despicable stuff. I'm almost tempted to say this is satanic. How anybody could look at somebody who's ill, who's sick, who is a child, and can't make any sort of major decisions for themselves, and put them to death because of that. You've got to think there's something more involved here than just evil.
Well, you certainly can't be.
It is just Just appalling.
You certainly can't be thinking straight when you're depressed. How can you make a properly informed decision about taking a lethal injection? Bernie, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. Keep going strong. We love the fact you're out there campaigning, crisscrossing Victoria for your Senate campaign. We'll talk to you again soon on ADH TV, but thanks so much for your time today.
Very great pleasure, Lyle. We'll catch up with you soon.